गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। वेल, मिस्टर Putin is in town. He's in Delhi, and whole of today is going to have a lot of meetings, and we're going to analyze it in detail. A lot of our analysis about India, Russia, USA, and things like that, and of course India, China. But many of us will be also analyzing as to what does USA think of this whole affair. But it's interesting to know what China thinks of the whole affair. And uh, I was amazed at the number of articles on this visit and the analysis and the various angles which came up. China is looking at it very closely. Remember, China and Russia have that no forbidden areas kind of a relationship, all weather, all type, and no holds barred kind of a relationship. And for them to carry out such a deep analysis and from various angles was interesting. Uh, well, this is an article which actually signifies and encapsulates the sentiment, the Chinese sentiment about Putin's visit. What does it say? It says what's Putin up to? What's Putin up to? What is his game plan? Are they analyzing the game plan, or are they suspicious of it? Whatever. Well, I went into it in detail. And what one realizes is, while on surface a lot of things are happy, go, everything is go between Russia and China, things are not the same. And if you think that the Russia, India, China triangle will ever close, it will never close. I don't think the Chinese are in for it, right? And I'll show you a few headlines, and you'll understand. Look at it. He says, breaking news. After 4 years, Russia's Putin announced to the world that he would visit India again to meet Modi. And the Kremlin set the trip as significant and released a strong signal. So they're looking at the Russian point of view rather than the Indian point of view. Why is Russia doing all this? Then Indian media has said that India will purchase weapons, Russian weapons, in a big grasp or whatever. That this is all uh, translated from original Chinese, so there could be mistakes. But I want to get the heading and get the feel of how Chinese think and how they go about it, including dozens of Su-57 fighters and 300 interceptor missiles. Further says Russia-Ukraine war is about to close. It's not come; it's about to close. Russia has no money. Putin visits India to find Modi to make a relationship. And interestingly, they feel that India is their bank from which they can keep drawing money by selling their items. And that's what the Chinese feel. Okay, right, same thing in a different platform. The article is almost the same, the heading is almost the same, but there are fine differences. The war between Russia and Ukraine is closed. Russia has no money. Putin visits India to find Modi to make a relationship. The interesting thing here is a relationship. I'll talk of this relationship. This word relationship between India and Russia a little later. Okay. He says, don't be blinded by the Sino-Russian friendship. Right? That's that no holds barred, no forbidden areas kind of a friendship. Putin suddenly supported India and pushed China to the brink of danger in one move. So they apprehend danger also. So all things are not equal in that relationship, and all things are not rosy in that relationship, right? That's the thing. And he says one article very clearly talks of Russia has decided to give India nuclear technology, right? And Russia announced to the world Putin will visit India from December 4th to 5th to meet with Modi, which has great attracted great global attention. And here in this, of course, he talks of history. He goes back to Nehru's times, yeah, all that. And this, of course, same thing. Li Hongmei. From checks and balances to hedging, the evolution of India's strategy against China after the Galwan Valley conflict. Look, again, here he comes. He says this one article which in great detail, it's about 9 pages, talks of how India is using Russia to hedge against China. And China, in another context, feels that Russia is using a hedge. India as a hedge against the West. India as a hedge against China. So how it is. So, China is not comfortable overall. That's the point. Um, Russia Ukraine war is just about to close again. Putin visits India to make a relationship. Same thing. Right. That's what he says. This is the thing which I said. I started with, this one. So when you translate it, you get this. Putin will go to India in the next few days and is expected to sell Su-57 aircraft and S-500 air defense systems to India. India now has more than 200 Russian aircraft and many sets of Russian S-400 air defense systems. In view of the relationship between China and India and the relationship between India and Pakistan, what is Putin playing in the next game? So, what's Putin's stake? What is he doing, and everything? And they get there is a consciousness that look, China will support Pakistan at all costs, and India cannot cross a line with Pakistan. They say, look, India dare not do anything against Pakistan. We are there. There are some writers and people who think like that. We need to understand this. Okay. But overall, look at it. This is something which everyone knows, but the Chinese have also said the three main lines of the list of issues is energy, arms trade, and nuclear energy. That's oil, arms, and nuclear. So we'll talk of all this in some manner or the other today and see what the Chinese are thinking. This is the thing where said I'll speak to you about the relationship business. Now, the Chinese view, interestingly, is that India and Russia are no longer just talking about procurement, but about technology transfer and joint research and development. Right? So, they're apprehending a technology transfer and joint development. He says that relationship transforms the buyer and seller relationship to a relationship between partners. Relationship. Earlier, if Russia was selling something to India and we were buying it, it's a buyer and seller relationship. Today, he says it could go into one between partners. To some extent, it is, I go with it because I think we need to go there. Because a partnership with USA is gone. I've always been maintaining that strategic relationship or the strategic partnership is out. It's a relationship. We have to build it back. There's nothing strategic about it because neither is technology coming to us nor is the Indo-Pacific alive. But China perceives this as to be a partnership, and it also in one of these articles they talk of India enabling Russia in the Asia Pacific and the Indo-Pacific. That's their visualization, right? And let me tell you, to put the cart before the horse, if you read between the lines, they're worried about Myanmar. If I've always said this before also in one of my podcasts, India and Russia get together on Myanmar, you can kick China out. But we have to get together. Because people in Myanmar trust Russia and India most. Okay. What are the main? There are five killer, they call it five killing weapons. What are these? Su-57 stealth fighter, R-37 air-to-air missile which can be mounted on a Su-30, Zikron hypersonic missile, S-500 surface-to-air system, and anti-stealth radar. The Chinese feel that Russia is going to sell these five killer items to India. It says one of them is a carrier killer. Okay? He says if that kind of a thing happens, you're looking at these five weapons. They feel that these five will be sold or whatever, or a technology transfer will take place, or joint development will take place. He says it is seen as an integrated air supremacy plus air defense plus anti stealth network. That puts China at a disadvantage. They feel that, look, all this will be deployed against China. So why is Russia helping India to fight against China when Russia and China are those great, no forbidden area kind of a relationship? Beijing interprets this as India bolstering its position against both China and Pakistan. In fact, this article, if you go, it talks of the Chinese position vis-a-vis Pakistan, India position vis-a-vis Pakistan, and how that can change with these five weapon systems and how China will have to react, especially against Pakistan. They also say India dare not do anything against China. All that, the Chinese supremacy thinking and all that comes in. Okay, then they throw a note of caution, and I think this is an interesting caution which we have to also take care. Says the delivery progress of S-400 is regarded as a thermometer to measure the resilience of cooperation between the two sides. If it can be completed as scheduled by 2026, it shows that the supply chain and payment channels are able to withstand pressure. Otherwise, it may mean that sanctions have eroded key defense areas. So they say, look, Russia under sanctions is not unable to deliver these systems. Is it right? I don't know. I don't think so. Russia is not able to deliver all these systems because it put its hand fully entangled with the Russia-Ukraine war. That's why the two systems are not at come, two units. For potential new orders, India will pay more attention to sanctions resistance design. So anything new happening, joint production or buying or what, I think we have to look at to ensure how Russia isn't stuck under the sanctions, including improving localization rate of parts, promoting localization of key software, and clarifying full cycle guarantee clauses, which will become hidden variables in negotiations. So all these are tough. They're tough. And knowing the Russians, having dealt with the Russians, unless there's a political drift or a change, I don't think all this going to be easy for us also. Uh, and in this case, I go with what the Chinese say. We have to be a little careful. It's nice to talk to Russia on many of these arms and all that, but how much will sanctions affect? How much will our own dealings with the West get affected? We'll have to see. Because the more you depend on Russia, the more stronger will be the resistance from USA and the West. Remember, the ambassador of France, Germany, and UK, they have written a dirty piece in Times of India against this visit. They have, gone against all diplomatic norms and have chosen to talk. But that's the way they're going to think. So any improvement in relations with Russia, you're going to have problems there. We'll talk of that in different forums, right? But we have to be cognizant of it. It's not going to be an easy thing. We still have to deal with them economically. In fact, they will also have to deal with us economically. On that, there's no doubt. But we're going to have strains. Not only with them, with the Chinese also. More. The Chinese envisage three types of results in this visit. One, a political statement or a joint document which will give the direction of the bilateral relations well into the future. Says an interdepartmental MOU covering energy, custom facilitation, mutual recognition of standards, and all that. So, energy is not sanctionable, all that. So, I think we will be able to go through without any problem, right? And then, of course, an enterprise level framework agreement which locks in annual trade volume and conclusion of oil, gas, fertilizers, and agricultural products and all that, how to go about it, which is already there in some manner. We'll have to take it to the next level. But what is missed out in this is the arms deals results. I think that will signify many things because and energy, of course, the sanctions. Any deal on energy in sanctions. But I feel that going forward, we will be depending more on Russian energy than Western energy. I mean, we have a spread. It's not as if we are completely dependent on Russian energy. But this source of Russian energy will continue. On that, I have no doubt. Okay, then about nuclear technology. The Chinese have put this in perspective. I mean, after all, they're not fools. They understand what's happening between India and Russia. So it says, look, there'll be three types of technology cooperation between Russia and India, and that will involve technology. Three types of technology cooperation. It says first is the technology of large scale power units, nuclear power units, to expand our nuclear power grid because our production of nuclear energy is very less and we need. But the thing with this is you need uranium. If Russia is prepared to give you uranium hexafluoride, we should go ahead with it. The second is small modular reactors, which you can put anywhere, even in submarines, in small districts, high altitudes. If you get that technology, you are over the hump. And of course, the next thing is a floating nuclear power plant, which Russia is operating as of now in the Arctic. You can do that. Uh, I think we will be able to do a lot of things, even in the Antarctic and even along our coastal areas and places like Andaman, Nicobar, and all that. So these three technologies they feel they'll transfer. And of course, the hidden angle in this is Russia will give you a berth or some space to operate on the Arctic channels as and when they open up. Chinese don't like it. Okay. The thing is, the Chinese are worried if all this technology comes at some point, some of it will get weaponized. And since India already is largely independent in weapon technology or nuclear weapon technology, this kind of technology, look, any kind of nuclear technology is dual use. So this technology, plus the fact that you are the leading researcher in thorium, okay, our system is different from what the Chinese are doing through the molten salt reactor. Ours is more sustainable when it comes. Oh, means a lot, and the Chinese recognize it. This is just not about military. It is about global strategy, global standing, all that. Right. That's why they have a couple of articles have completely analyzed the nuclear technology cooperation we are talking of. Mind you, if last week with Sandeep Punithan, I did talk of all these issues. Okay, what is China's view overall? Okay, first and foremost, Putin is pushing China to the brink of danger because China is getting marginalized if this goes through. In their conception, it is China and Russia which have to form that axis. It's still there in the Chinese mind. North Korea, Iran, all those like-minded countries. But they see that Putin is making a hedge out of that. And they're worried that Russia is arming India against China. That comes through very clearly. And then they're also worried. In one of the articles, they say, look, Russia is putting forward India and Brazil for a permanent membership in the UN Security Council, along with, of course, Japan and Germany, which are the four which people say should come into the Security Council as permanent members. But Russia is pushing this case. And they go on to argue that, look, how can India become? Right? Uh, India cannot be, because India has a problem. India has a problem with China, and the Sino-Indian border is not sorted out completely, and India doesn't have a sense of responsibility, or the where sense of responsibility is questionable. Because I mean, fundamentally, look at it. Look at the Chinese. They feel that India is irresponsible the way it is doing things against China, and irresponsible the way it is doing things against Pakistan. So, why am I saying this? I'm taking some time. Please understand, we will not have an easy relationship with China. In fact, today, the article read about our ex foreign secretary, Nurpuma Rao Menon, she's written about the geometry of Himalayas and power and all that. Read that, you get a good idea about what the whole thing is all about, right? Okay, and then he says Russia wants to form an emerging country group of emerging countries with Russia leading it. Okay, and as a hedge against US. The unspoken thing is that will become a hedge against China also, with Russia, India, Brazil, and others. So he feels that this grouping can work against BRICS and SU. That's the point which China is apprehending. And he says, look, China is the one which saved Russia from marginalization in geopolitics. Why is Russia acting like this at this point of time? Right. And then, of course, they also understand that Russia is uh, worried about being over dependent on China, and hence it's moving away. This Russia is trying to find its own balance, which is right. Okay, and then the Russian support to India, the way it is coming out, goes against what China wants to do in SCO and BRICS. China very clearly wants to use SCO and BRICS for its global governance initiative and XYZ. Says, look, Russia's support for all this is anathema to that. And they say, look, in SCO and BRICS, it is the main pillars are Russia and China. Okay, India is virtually against China in this grouping. And Russia and China must use the SCO and BRICS for the new global order. Why is Russia now going and getting India in? So that imbalance. So the whole story of an alternate global order starts dashing down here. And he says if there's a difference of opinion between Russia and China, the foundations of SCO and BRICS are shaken. If that happens, Chinese global governance initiative goes for a toss. They're worried. Let's be very clear, they're worried. Right? And of course, the issue that uh, if the war ends, if and when the war ends, even if it doesn't end, Russia doesn't have money. It needs money. And it feels that, India is its golden doll. or the golden goose, whichever way. India has the money, Russia has the technology to give, so there'll be a mutual exchange to each other's benefit. Then they say, look, Russia and India have similar positions in the international arena because both are under heavy sanctions and they want a fairer international order. In this, they get that thing, okay, can China get in? Can China use Russia to snare India so that the RAC is formed? Right? Of course, the basic thing they still feel that Putin wants money. Okay, so these are the issues. Can RSA be formed? If you get the larger view of what uh, you know analysis which you see across all these articles, what I put them another 20 articles like this. The themes are the same. The RIC is a distant dream. I don't think China or India can come on the same platform. Especially, look, we were supposed to be on the mend, and that detention of that lady happened. Right? So things are not on the right lines with China and India. Uh, Things might normalize to some extent, but if you think we're going to the level of having a RIC, just forget it. Now the interesting thing is how do you handle Russia in this thing? We have some scope to deal with China through Russia. But how much will China look at Russia if some of these deals come through? So when you have these deals coming through, you have an issue with USA and an issue with China. And of course, you need to hammer it out with Pakistan. I always keep saying Pakistan is a cat's paw which you got to hammer, break it. Because that's the cat's paw which has been used against us by China and US. So it's an interesting thing. I just thought I'll put across to all of you the Russian thinking, or sorry, the Chinese thinking about the Russia India relationship and Putin's visit to India. We'll discuss this more in the next 2 3 days. All right. If you like this video, do press that thumbs up. Also subscribe to Ganashot and press on that bell icon. And last but not the least, do join in as members. I'll be more than grateful to all of you. With this, thank you. Have a great day. And going forward in the day, you'll see a lot more analysis of Mr. Putin's visit to India coming up. But I don't think you'll see so much of the Chinese angle in this. And that's why I've given this as a kind of a special treatment. Thank you. Have a great day and Jai Hind.